Rise up, the Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. The crew is back, and now it's time to rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. Rise up, rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. The crew is back, and now it's time to rise up. The Dukes are back, and now it's time to rise up. Rise up.
And welcome back to the D's on Fire podcast. This is going to be part one. We'll do another time travel into the future attempt to get the St. Joe's at the end of this. Right now, we're going to focus on Richmond, a game that, looked very promising for the first half, especially offensively. Alec will dive into why defensively it wasn't necessarily as strong as the score made you think. And I'm going to go through my rundown of notes from this game. So starting off, the first thing I'd like to comment is the elbow straight to Barre's nuts. Not being a foul call is absurd enough. And then reviewing it and seeing that the player literally just stuck his elbow into his nuts, not being a flagrant foul, is absurd. The fact that they can argue that that was a basketball play is nuts. The ball's already in Barre's hands, well above that area. There's no reason to throw an elbow right into him. That's how we start this off. To get away from the refs for a moment, Day was not locked in defensively in the first few possessions. He led to a few easy buckets from them.
Yeah, he was. I have that in my notes too. He got beat baseline, pretty easy cut, and then he got totally lost on rotation on the easy three. So yes, correct.
I'd argue I'm correct on both.
I guess
points.
That was the Princeton offense, like you said earlier, kind of their offense. I think we both went back and rewatched this game because there was to see what the hell went wrong.
Yeah. From live reaction, as I told you before, this show just would have been full of me cursing out everybody involved in this game. So it's better that we had some time for me to cool down, and I wasn't dropping an F-bomb.
I was hot too. I was hot, but I'm actually more calm after rewatching. Surprisingly, it was therapeutic.
And I apologize for getting you involved in this, emotionally attached to a team that is almost guaranteed to let you down. I do apologize for that. Let's see.
We put ourselves in this situation by going to this damn school.
Yeah. Kareem Rozier should not be covering Trey Burton. That happened a few times, especially in the first half. Burton got most of his points driving to the basket against better and taller defenders. Kareem cannot stop him in the post, and that happened quite a few times.
That's a bit of a size mismatch, I would say.
Yeah. A little further down in my notes,
he was like really muscular. Burton.
Since I brought Trey Burton up, he really reminded me of he gives the vibes off of the high school bully, popular guy in a movie. That's the vibes I got with Trey Burton. He just seems like that. Obviously biased because he was on the other team, but like
kind of got the vibes of like he was a nice guy, but like really like he would insult you to your face, or he would say something nice to you, but it would be you know what I mean? Like he doesn't know that he's insulting you.
Maybe like the offhanded compliment that like is really, and he thinks it's sincere and genuine, and I don't know. I just got the vibe
I got. We could do a vibe check after that.
I got the vibe that like he's Mr. Popular, but also a school bully to all these kids, and the teachers don't care because he's an all-star player, and that's the vibe I got from him.
That's fine. We could have different insight on vibes, I guess.
As we
that
mentioned,
are absolutely.
As we mentioned at the beginning, you are the more reasoned takes here. This is just a burning passion play on my part. Trey Clark was hot offensively. you have to live and die by his aggressive antics on defense. As Dan Brought mentioned, the VCU presser that really showed up in this game. While he did foul out, I do have I think there's two fouls in particular that I noted in these
I noted
rewatch.
one. I noted one call.
Okay.
So we'll.
I,
I mean, I
I'm
think we're going
guessing
to say the same one.
I'm guessing the one is the box out where they
Yes,
called him. Yeah,
definitely not. It felt like that in the moment while watching, and then rewatching it clarified my opinion. He. If anything, that's an over the back.
correct. Yeah.
That was a horrible call, and that there's nothing to laugh about. Like I normally Division One refs, but that was especially bad.
Yeah. And as I mentioned live, uh, these refs were horrendous. I I truly want them investigated and reviewed by the league. Um, I I really do, and I want Duquesne to use this podcast and my recap of this game as the evidence for them to go ahead and rewatch this and review it because it is horrendous. The foul differential, the amount of inconsistency with the same fouls, mainly moving screens that we got two or three called on us. I don't think
Yeah.
there was
No.
any called on them. I
Mhm.
indicated every single one that they could have called on them during this list. So just so we are going through these notes. Um,
This was frustrating on a lot of levels. This there's a lot to like. This is good actually. It's not even like a recap. It's really just to like how should we feel about this game? Was draw out of it? Was there more negatives to draw out of it? Like
there,
you could really just spin you won on this game, honestly.
like if they, I'm gonna put these into categories. Like if the refs missed, like were inconsistent on just the moving screens, and that was the only like errors or discrepancies,
Yeah.
would not be brought up. But the fact that there are so many different areas where I feel like we can get into this is and since we brought up Trey Burton earlier, he was allowed to be very handsy on defense. He had hands all over ball handlers in the first half, particularly. Never a call on him for having hand checking. Um,
Oh, I love this. You went
it's
into more
it,
detail than I
it is
anticipated.
yes, absolutely. No, this is everything. The announcers point out a takedown of Reese and laughing about it. This is a recurring theme that they laugh about uh, lack of foul calls or saying that Duquesne is getting away with so much stuff against the poor Richmond Spiders. Oh,
Yeah.
the anger just continues to build and build against the announcers as well as the refs in this one, folks. Um, that my anger had already started at that point, and also, yeah, and then later on they claimed that Reese should have gotten called for a foul for shoving down their point guard who clearly flopped.
Mhm.
Like not even close. And the refs were right next to it, saw what happened, didn't call anything. So once again, just but yeah, Reese was taken down by Burton. The Duquesne bench was hot about it. It's unbelievable that the refs didn't call this because it was the loose ball that just went to the out of bounds. Um, no idea how the refs didn't call anything on that or review that one. Um, then the accused, our star Matus Haransky, our gentle giant,
Yeah.
accused him of starting shit with Burton when Burton fouled him on a 3-pointer that he made.
Right.
Haransky can't even speak English that well. I'm pretty sure. There's no way he's talking crap to their star player who's ticked off that the refs dare call a foul on him. How dare they? Like I
This
the
game, like
vibes were
he
there
was
for me.
he was and that's something I brought up a bit from the ref complaining just to let's break it up slightly.
Yeah,
Uh
that's
Griff, was he injured at all?
no. I think it was a
So that was attack Hronsky over McGriff in this game.
yeah. McGriff's made a bunch of turnover mistakes and mental mistakes, and a game against Richmond where they are so tactically and fundamentally strong. I don't think Dan Brought felt it was a good matchup, which I will say I thought Rotroff should have gotten more minutes in this game for that same reason for the bigs. Barre in particular didn't look good, had a few mistakes. I feel like if Rotroff got some more minutes, that would have.
Rotrop had 5 minutes in this game, Barre 10, and obviously there was we're talking about the foul trouble, especially in the front court. We missed this game, Trey Williams, and then Reese getting in foul trouble. We had to go deep, which is fine, but yeah, we don't kind of your first person drop, but if you go by the minutes, that definitely wasn't the case.
Yeah. All right. So we've gone away from the rants. There was a turnover on this play, but there was once again a moving screen offensive foul missed by Matt Grace on Tevin Brewer shortly after that, and one on the three. The announcers annoyed me some more when they said there's a lot of players not even on the Spiders scouting report in this game doing well, which every single player that played in this game had played decent minutes at some point this season.
Yeah.
So like there was no players that should not be on the scouting report. I'm sorry you announcers didn't prepare for the opponent that you guys are playing and just have to just BS your way through it. But don't put that on your own team that they don't account for these players. That's a disgrace.
You get them.
Like I said, just getting started. Number 15, Matt Grace got away with a few moving screens. And this is all first half notes. So there was multiple in the first half that he got away with. Day finally driving after 12 minutes, drew 2 fouls on 2 drives. Like I think it was actually his third drive. He drew a third foul as well. If he just kept attacking the rim, I think we would have had a better chance. Although once again, the refs did not call many fouls against Richmond after we took the 22-point lead.
I wrote something similar, just like it vaguely ties to the with the loss of Reese, with the loss of Williams, Jimmy Clark. Like those are our 3 points in the paint guys, really. Like we just couldn't get into the lane, and you saw Day try to do it. Like they were running him off the line. They clearly knew he could shoot, so they tried the line. Day was being aggressive, and he just kind of had a bad game offensively. Like I like the ones that he did take. He just didn't make them. But yeah, that was something when I rewatched this. They're just eating us alive inside, and we're the total opposite ain't at all.
Yeah, and Day wasn't very aggressive or assertive in getting the ball in his hands. I don't know if that's a coaching decision or if that's Day, but something needs to change there because you need to get the ball in his hands, especially when we are hitting that offensive lull. I mean, he wasn't taking shots during our period where we weren't scoring any baskets. That's the time where we could use a guy to take over.
Yeah, he just had the shots that he did take I did like, and that might have affected his confidence. Who knows?
The announcers said they'll let Joe Reese take open threes all game. I wish they did. They only gave him, I think he shot 3 or 4 and he made 1. And if you keep, and they contested him on the fourth. Yeah. If he kept getting wide open looks, he would have made them pay for it. So that
the looks that they gave him, I liked that he took them.
Yeah.
On him shooting like 8 threes, but going 1 for 4, like that's fine. He can make 2, 3 of those capable.
Yeah, and once again, I just really wish the announcers were actually the coaching staff for Richmond because we would have blown the doors off. Goaltending showed its head again. Not really getting into it too much, but we got a few goaltending calls against us in this one. Quinn, another moving screen that wasn't called. Burton had a big dunk attempt that could have easily been called a charge, and that was against Reese. Reese got to that point first. I don't know, and I don't think the cylinder rule is in effect in college. It could be, and I just don't realize it. But
yeah, I remember what play you're talking about, and I it was it was close. Close. Like I think you could argue either way, but yeah,
And
that
and once again, if that's the only issue, not even really getting a mention in this podcast. But
yeah.
it's just adding to the evidence of how bad the refs were. Um, and then uh, I also noted Quinn should have been called for a rebounding foul prior to that dunk attempt. I saw it. He went over the back of I think Rotroff, knocked the ball away. Should have been called right there then and there. So that was the other thing where charge questionable should have
Are
been
you
an
talking about
offensive.
the wait? You're talking about the one that didn't get called because he there was one where totally mangled. I think it was on
Uh,
the offensive rebound. They did call that one.
yes, well they couldn't not call it, but I guess they could have not called it, but
Okay.
it would have been tougher for them. But no, this was leading. This was they got the offensive rebound that led to the Burton huge dunk attempt that didn't go
Oh,
through.
okay.
Yeah. So I'm saying that play in its entirety could have been two offensive fouls, none called.
Right.
Quinn on his missed dunk attempt hung on the rim for a little while, a lot longer than Rotroff did. Admittedly, he didn't go for the ball while he was hanging on the rim, but
We're
he hung
going
on
real deep.
once again, Alec, not letting him off the hook for anything this game. Um, we left Burton wide open on they rotated the ball well, and he ended up being the open guy after some switches. But of all the players to leave open, Roche and Burton were the two that like should have been the focus of we can't leave him to
Yeah.
help somebody else. Um, so that was annoying. Uh, Soft foul call on Barre for the and one for Quinn. There's a few and ones that Quinn got. This one in
Yeah.
particular in the first half was particularly soft. And this was, I think, right at the around the 22-point lead mark. Um, I
Mhm.
think it was. I think we had a 22-point lead, then he got an and one on a really soft call. Uh, and then followed up by Burton, still allowed to be really handsy on defense without a foul called. Uh, Third drive for Day Day, third foul drawn. Um, Another hard-earned foul, this time by Reese on Quinn. Um, there's some of these I'm not even remembering, but like just going down the list here. Uh, Anytime there was any hands on Burton whatsoever, there was a foul called. So again, consistency where you're letting Burton go ahead and do it. Can't let Duquesne get away with it.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I finally reached the point where Nelson flopped with Reese. Announcers and Mooney were both complaining about it to the refs. I was a little more artful with my language choice in my notes, but I'm a little
Another
calmer
bleep
now.
bleep situation. We don't want to repeat anything from last. No.
No, no, no. I'll use the bucket sensor like I did last time.
There you
Um, Montu's had an incredible first half. Like he really did. He provides so many quality minutes every time he gets on the floor, even though they're limited. Um,
Mhm.
oh, and then it was a legit foul call. What a terrible, terrible foul by Clark to end the half.
That
On that
like
corner three.
I felt it live. That felt like a momentum swing that Richmond could use to go into halftime, and felt that way rewatching it. And clearly, like I think that really did spark like a serious chance in the second half.
I think that got the fans more into it, and they were loud in the second half. I will give them that.
Richmond was full. That was a good
Yeah,
crowd. That was I was jealous of the crowd.
I
I'll be
I
honest.
was too. I'm not gonna lie. Although obviously in the moment I was just ticked off at how all their stupid hats, spider hats, and stupid like I I like being away from it. Yeah, absolutely. I wish we had crowds like that. That would be phenomenal. And that was like without students really, because students weren't even back yet on campus.
No, it was a good atmosphere.
Yeah.
I'll
So
give it to them. That's the only thing I'll give them.
that that's it. Um, let's see. Foul on Reese and RJ to start the second, and then Day Day got smothered by three defenders. No call. Um, we're not allowed. No, there was no interior defense at the start of the second half, and I noted probably because of all the fouls that we had and that they were getting called on.
Yeah, so I'm gonna that's something that I wrote down. I think it was a big reason of what got them back in the comeback. So just wise, right? So Quinn obviously was being super aggressive. He was like the main person. He went to the line 13 times. Um, Difference in free throws. Richmond had 8 free throws in this game. We had 8.
And
Now, a
they
lot
had
of these
30,
have to do
right?
they 20 or 30 from the line. We
Yeah.
went 8 of 9 from the line. Obviously, this that has some of these bad foul calls that we're talking about, which is true. And it wasn't we weren't Duquesne wasn't necessarily getting those same calls that Richmond was getting. But at the same time, I'll give Richmond credit for and Quinn credit. He was super aggressive and he was forcing the to make calls and they were making calls. And that's I have written down. I feel like Dan brought you have to give Quinn a different look. He's eating you alive for minutes on end. How you don't like throw a double team when he gets in the post or try to deny him getting the ball in the post at all. Like they were just they could do whatever they wanted in the post. That I think that came down to coaching, honestly.
I think that's part true, but I also think that well, once they start calling every little contact, yeah, that's definitely the strategy you're going to use. You're going to take what the refs are giving you. I mean, if they're going to not call those, then you won't
But
be as
you do
aggressive.
something different. Like everyone was getting eaten alive in there, and throwing a double team will at least out of rhythm a little bit. You know what I mean? And
Maybe.
you just try and tell your guys like, hey, do your best, not called for fouling, whatever. Like he's not gonna take a shot while he's in a double team or something. And a lot of these were and one opportunities that he was getting. So I don't know. You got to give him. You can't be that afraid of the refs.
Yeah. Tevin got fouled on a drive. There was a no call, and it was followed by a particularly soft foul call on Reese against Quinn, um, which, I mean, Reese I think there was a coaching mishap or communication issue as to the amount of fouls with Reese. That was obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Reese was really distraught about it, understandably. But he also shouldn't have 5 fouls called on him at that point if the refs are being like anywhere near equal or just not as like trying to get Richmond back in this game, which I feel like the officiating definitely was geared at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Burton gets away with a reach in on Rotroff after the missed and one by Quinn. That was, yeah, Rotroff had the ball off the rebound, passed it, and Burton still slapped his arm after he passed it right in front of the refs. No call. And then Burton does that same move on, I think it was Barre, leads to a steal
Yeah.
later in this game. If he got away with it one time, why wouldn't he do it again? There's no risk of him getting called on a foul, obviously. That's that's my mindset. Um, Rotroff should have had more time on the court. I understand he had a few fouls in this one, but he was also one of the only guys that had a rebounding threat, which was needed because of how many shots we were missing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
I guess there was Dan Broad just wanted more defense because he saw that he kept putting rotation of which big man can guard Quinn in the second half,
which
and the answer was none.
which is
And he
again
felt
my
the
point.
least comfort. I guess he felt the least confidence in Rotrop that I'm just trying
I
to think of. May have been thinking in the moment, but
I
I
get.
agree with you.
I mean, if they're all getting beat, you might as well have a guy bring something on the offensive end.
I hear
uh,
you.
Reese was fouled on a jumper. It was on the like left of the basket. The announcers called it great defense. Like the guy went into him, gave him no room. Like it's just
Oh yeah, yep. I know. I'm talking about.
uh, Trey was very clearly fouled on the fast break that led to the fast break layup.
Yes. Yep.
that the announcer said, I don't know what he was doing. He just handed the ball off to Burton. Yeah, because your guy pushed him while he was driving. God, the anger's building back up, Alec. I'm reliving these moments. Um, yeah, the moving screen on Reese was terrible considering the lack of calls of moving screens by Richmond all night. In the second half.
There was one I had written down in the second half. It just wasn't a moving screen. Like Reese was already
Yeah,
in his
this is what I'm
role of
referencing.
the pick and roll. I have it 43 mark. Like that wasn't a pick because he was trying to roll.
Yeah, he was moving. He was just moving to
That
move.
was a really bad call. That was for his
That was his
fourth
that was his
foul.
fourth foul. Yes. Um,
It
and
was a
then
bad. Those are the two foul calls I had written down: the Trey Clark boxing out and that moving pick were just totally, absolutely wrong, and it should have went the other way.
yeah, like those are dead wrong. And then,
Yeah,
like I've brought up, there were a lot of questionably soft calls that you called one way and not
yeah,
the other way. So,
right.
like,
Everything else, like, yeah, you're all you're making are valid. This was just, but they're all at the end of the day like subjective arguments. These were as close as cold stone facts as they can be on a basketball court.
yeah. Um, let's see. I have the Nelson layup over Reese was absurd. I'm giving him credit for that, where he just like tossed the
I,
ball way up off the backboard. I mean, there's nothing you can do to defend that. That was just ridiculous circus shot. Um,
that yeah that touched the moon. I think it hit the moon backboard and then on its way down went through the hoop. That was insane.
yeah, and then that charge was just devastating, and it was a charge.
Yeah, yeah,
But man,
yeah. That
tough.
was tough.
Um,
You're talking
or-
about the Reese foul out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I mean, the guy was positioned well. Reese was really moving to get the ball, and there's
Hmm.
nothing he could do. I think it
It
like the
was it was bad timing for us, great timing for Richmond. So whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, that was a foul.
Um, Positive note: RJ Gunn was huge, huge. Like he was the consistent offense in both halves, um, and he was for some reason they just like were not on him tight enough on threes, and he didn't really drive against them, so I don't know why they were not as tight on him on threes.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of he. RJ Gunn took 12 shots in this game, shot 5 of 12, 4 of 8 from three. So
yeah,
most of his shots coming from 3 point range. Yeah, if they should have treated the way that Day Day was guarded, trying to get him off the line, they should have done similarly to RJ. Obviously, they won the game, so they don't care. But yeah, he was a good offensive note in this game at least.
Barre missed the dunk while he was under the basket. I said he might have been fouled there. I mean, if you're calling all those contacts against Quinn and Matt Grace, uh, I'm going to say that deserved just as much of a foul call.
I
Honestly,
have a so yes, that's but I wrote it the opposite way because
right?
I said last week Bari's the strongest dude on the team. He might have been the strongest player out on the court.
Just
I
his
don't
grip of the
understand.
ball.
I don't understand how he's not finishing through this this is light contact. If it's strong contact, I wouldn't be
Well, yeah,
going as hard on him. But this is like just touching of the hand, and he can't finish under the basket. When in the same game we saw Dixon have two really strong and one finishes.
yeah,
So that's
and
kind of what I'm saying. Like that, and I wrote that down. And it's funny how I'm not going to say I predicted it, but Dixon, we were in
hot
a
hand.
situation in this game where the backup front court had to play a lot of minutes, and Dixon kind of proved, that maybe it should be his number that's getting called as over Bari. He
Yeah,
made a very strong argument in this game.
yeah. I think Dixon is the more ready player now. I think Barre might have the higher potential, but Dixon is definitely the better option currently to get those minutes.
And
Um,
I'll throw out Dixon was 5 of 5 in 15 minutes. Like I said, he had two and one opportunities. Went 1 of 2 at the line, 5 rebounds. He didn't play like great one-on-one defense in the post, but no one played good one-on-one defense in the post tonight.
Um, let's see. Uh, we need to figure out a way to incorporate advantage into basketball like there is in soccer. It just needs to. They need to
Oh,
figure that
just
out.
just a general
Yeah, like
little
like
thought.
those intentional fouls where like Trey Clark was definitely gonna go to the basket, or even at some of the bigs where like they're fouled as they're making their post move. That's definitely gonna beat a guy. There's got to be a way to like give them like
Yeah, it's
continuation isn't enough. Um,
yeah, it's like it took the NBA like so damn long to get rid of the take foul. Like now you get I forget what actually happens. You definitely
I
go to
think
the
you get a
line and you
free
get the
throw
ball.
and you get the ball back. Yeah,
Right. So, but it took them way too long to figure that out. Like, why are we taking so long to
finish games.
this happens in hockey, it happens in soccer. Like, let's get it done.
Yeah. So we got basketball needs to figure that out. And I say that loving basketball for a long time, but that is an issue. Like there's so many times where a foul is called, but they call it late, and like as they call it, a guy is dunking or something like that. It's like clearly we'd rather just take the points at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so uh,
Anything else ref wise?
oh yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. Oh,
not sure
excuse
why.
me.
Not sure why Barre's foul wasn't considered an offensive foul. Therefore, there shouldn't have been free throws. This was on. They like Brewer was throwing an alley oop to him, and he was like pushing off the guy to be able to jump, and the guy still caught it. Should have been an
Right.
offensive foul. They
So you
mentioned it.
won wait, so you wanted Bari to get an
I
offensive
wanted
foul.
an offensive foul. They called it a loose ball or defensive foul, and then led to free throws on the other end.
Mm,
Um,
okay,
which
okay.
which happened in the reverse where Richmond was called for an offensive foul, so Duquesne didn't get to shoot and one free throw or 1-and-1 free throws later on in the game.
I
Um,
see. Okay.
yeah, so this one's definitely a lot more minor than the ones I've talked about, but still
Yeah.
just adding to the list. Um,
Tabs are being kept.
there was a drive where Burton traveled, not talking about the last play. This is earlier. Burton traveled, then Trey Clark called for boxing out Quinn. So again, there was a missed call that led to another mistake. Um,
Yeah.
this time on the offensive end. There's also, speaking of traveling, later on, can't remember if it was Grace or Quinn, caught the ball, traveled before he moved, then traveled again through and then they called an offensive or defensive foul on us. Traveled twice in the process of getting called for a foul. Um, just unbelievable. Uh, the announcers with the ballsy statement, there's a reason the home teams have dominated in the A10. Yeah, there is. Just not the reason you're thinking. You're thinking it's the home crowd advantage from the fans. It's not. It's because the refs are so terrible at this game. And they just continued to just be oblivious to this throughout the game, despite referencing it indirectly at points. They laughed after they mentioned Duquesne only has 4 free throws to this point with about 5 minutes left to go. Ha
Yeah.
ha ha! How funny!
I will give them that they made a also a good point is that we took 31 3-point attempts in
Yeah,
this game.
they mentioned that, but as I've gone through, there were many drives that just
No,
weren't
I
foul calls.
yeah, no, I mean Richmond took 25 3-pointers. So, it wasn't that big of a discrepancy in 3-point attempts.
Yeah. Um, after Richmond gains the lead, they call a soft foul against Richmond. I think realizing, oh wow, there's a lot of time left, and we really screwed Duquesne. Like they started to call the game a lot more even once they realized, wow, Richmond already has a lead. There's a lot of time left.
Yep, I'm sure that's exactly what they were thinking.
Announcers laughing about our lack of free throws with 7 minutes, 15 seconds to go, and Nelson on the line for his second. Um, I started adding times to these stamps. So
Okay.
horrendous call on Clark under the basket after the Gustafson steal that apparently went off Day and out of bounds. I mean, that was just annoying. We didn't really argue it. That like it might have been a foul on Gustafson or that it went off Gustafson. So maybe just the camera angle didn't show what really happened and they didn't show a replay of it. But that foul on Clark under the basket, it was him being straight up. I think Dixon came from the back and tried blocking the shot. They call a foul on Trey. He didn't do anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what play you're talking about. Yeah, it didn't look like there was contact there.
No. And
And
that was
I
when I
replayed
texted
that
you
multiple
live.
times. Yeah.
That was the one I texted you live and said that's a terrible call. And he's like, yeah, there was no foul there.
Yeah. No, I in the replay, I didn't think that was a foul either.
So that was the second one that I thought was a bad one on Trey. So I've now
Mhm.
identified two on Reese, two on Trey, bringing them both to 3 as opposed to 5, and being fouled out as the only 2 players to be fouled out in this game. Um, and then I will again they started refing more evenly. The Roche tic tac foul in front of the ref on Day that wasn't really captured in the moment, but then they showed the alternate camera angle, which they have a lot of camera angles there. Really wish kind of wish Duquesne could utilize
Did you
something like
think
that.
the broadcast quality was poor, or was it just my internet connection compared to home Duquesne games this season?
What quality? Just like the video quality?
Just the video quality, yeah.
I felt like on the alternate camera angles it wasn't as good, but I think that might have been like the alternate
No,
cameras
just like
are.
general gameplay. You thought it
Um,
was fine?
I thought it was fine. I guess Duquesne's cameras are actually really good. I think
That's what
compared
I'm
to the rest of
saying.
the A10.
Oh, okay.
Camera operators not necessarily as
Oh,
much,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, the actual camera quality that Duquesne has is probably top, if not the top, up there for the A10.
Okay.
There are going to be a lot worse camera quality in
Yeah,
the away
I'm
games.
sure LaSalle's isn't too great.
It's brutal. It is brutal. um, let's see. Uh, Gunn clearly fouled with 5:23 to go. Announcers saying that's a tough one, a tough call against Matt Grace, where he just completely goes horizontal attacking RJ Gunn. They called the foul, but the
Yeah,
announcers are saying it's a brutal
right.
call against poor Matt Grace with again 5 minutes to go in a game that has clearly been officiated one way. Uh, Dixon made some huge plays, especially towards the later end of the second half. Um, could have been an and one on the dunk by Bigelow was another comment the announcers made, uh, where they they apparently weren't happy with the foul discrepancy. They wanted another one.
Yeah. Boo hoo.
Yeah, so many missed wide open threes in this half. It wasn't better defense. It was just we were missing open looks. Brewer, Clark, Rozier missed a few. I will say, I really liked his confidence that he took the 3 towards the end of the game from that uh, sort
Yeah,
of like
I know it.
three.
Yeah, the right hand side of the arc.
Yeah, his form looks so good. He looked so confident. I was sure that was going in. Even when it bounced up, I was like, okay, it'll bounce back in. Like that. That was how confident he took that shot. Man, uh, another not called moving screen by Grace with 3 minutes to go in a very close game. Uh, Grace should have gotten a technical complaining to the ref after the Dixon one. He went straight to the ref, like
Uh
was very
Animated.
showboating, yeah, animated about it. In the NBA, you're not allowed to be that animated.
I know. You can't even slam the ball down on the court anymore. That counts as a reaction.
In the NCAA, he like skipped with his hands shaking right in front of the ref's face, arguing. What are we doing? uh, this then we get to after under 3 minutes to go was Quinn traveled not once but twice on his drive. And I forgot this part. That was the foul that led to Trey being fouled out. He traveled twice, not called. Trey Clark fouls out. Then the announcers, with their so condescending. This is a different Duquesne team than years from the past. We've been good for since Dan Brock got here. Aside from last season, we've had one bad season since Dan Brock got here. You condescending pieces of trash. Again, censoring my language a little bit. Shut up. Oh my god. And you don't know anything about this Duquesne team. It would be one thing if you actually did your research before the game. You're just reacting to what you're seeing now. Only insight the announcers provided all night was that Richmond really wanted Rotroff, which he's in his 5th year now at Duquesne. So feel like that shouldn't have been news. They should have probably mentioned that earlier in Rotroff's career, but I guess maybe Mooney didn't want to tell them because they were hoping they might have gotten him as a transfer at some point. I don't know. But yeah, that was man. Nelson's hands all over Brewer, no call, but they couldn't not call the foul on Quinn on Rotroff. That was the egregious rebounding foul. Which again, I guess you know what? I guess they could have not called it. They could have been a little worse, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
The announcers didn't say anything about that foul, by the way. Just wanted to point that out. The egregious foul. No, nothing mentioned. That was definitely a foul by Dixon with 1:35 to go.
Yep.
Yeah. There was. I haven't talked about all the foul calls they made on us. A lot of them were legit, but again, I'm not giving them any credit at this point.
You're too deep.
Brewer had a great find for Rozier. We already mentioned the confidence, and I really thought that was going to fall. With under 1:30, there was another moving screen by Quinn not called. I think I've mentioned like seven or eight now that you very easily could have called. Brewer runner on the broken play was so good. Day almost tripped over himself. This was like 30 seconds left.
Huge.
Man, Tevin Brewer. He is our closer, which is bad on the sense that teams could easily scout this and realize that he's the one that we want with the ball in his hand. Day very clearly is not the guy that is the focal point at those moments.
I think it's better. I think everyone looking at this team, looking at the stats, you would be like, oh, okay, we need to stop this Grant guy. He's really good 3-point shooter. He scores the most points. So he could be, hopefully that's a decoy in future games and he gets a lot more attention. And then Brewer, or even, I don't even mind Jimmy Clark if we need a 2-bucket hidden getting into the paint. I wouldn't mind those two being kind of the first and second option.
Yeah, I did mention on my note for our last effort, it was an okay shot. Definitely not great by any means. I mean, there was limited time, so it was basically a drive, chuck up, and then hopefully we can get a second chance if it misses. I wonder if Trey's taking that if he's not fouled out at that point, just because he's kind of been the ridiculous shot maker. So that might have been his.
Yeah, I agree.
But going back in time for a few seconds, Burton traveled when he slipped. That led to the game winner from them.
Do you think
traveled?
He traveled when he fell?
Not initially when he fell, no. But he picked up his dribble and continued to slide and then passed. He didn't stop sliding. Not when he initially tripped.
I don't know. I kind of just I feel like his dribble was alive. I felt like he kept his dribble alive. And in the live, I'm like, he totally traveled. But when I rewatched this game, I actually changed my tune.
I rewatched it. I'm not changing my tune.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm not giving it to him. He traveled. That play alone, should be grounds for the refs to be reviewed, that there is a contested late call that was blown
Yeah,
or potentially blown. That should be reviewed in and of itself. Again, Duquesne, just use everything I just mentioned as a nice material to lead them on this review, because two players being fouled out when they shouldn't have fouled out. Should have been 3 fouls on them, 4 if you're being kind to the refs. There were
I
one
wrote
on each
I
of them.
wrote one
That was,
I wrote one each myself that should have definitely been retracted. So I'm kind of on the 4 side. You can be on the 3 side. Both have valid arguments, but 5 is not. 5 shouldn't have happened.
yeah. And one more note. I understand Mooney was calling timeout like immediately after the shot was made. It still annoys the crap out of me that we were so quick on the inbound and
Yeah,
they got a timeout in, because their team was 100% not prepared to defend and it was going to be an easy bucket. And Dambrot was understandably TO'd about
yeah, and that happens in basketball. Like you tell a ref, like, hey, when this happens, I want a timeout. He's gonna listen to you. Like I've done that playing soccer in my career, where if you're doing like a trick play, like you tell the ref, hey, we're gonna do this. It's not gonna look legal, but trust us, it's gonna be legal. And then so that's just something that's an unwritten rule that happens. It sucked for us because it worked to. It's basically like in the semifinal, Kirby Smart calling that timeout.
it. Yeah.
It was like it couldn't have been better timing for them. So
Yeah, and we are recording while that championship game is ongoing, but it seemed like a blowout at this point. So I'm just gonna say congrats to Georgia for winning the national championship in football.
oh
Just
yeah,
just giving it to them now. It's 45-7 currently with 5 minutes to go in the third.
my TV was getting taken up by Ginny and Georgia.
Okay.
Not the national championship game.
I haven't watched a second of it, but 45-7. So feeling pretty confident when I say congrats to Georgia.
Holy smokes!
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
so now we're at the point where Richmond calls a timeout. I hated the timeout call at the baseline by Dan Broad. There's
Oh, when
seven
they're
and a
set
half.
up. Yeah.
They're set up. There's 7.5 seconds left. We have a timeout. I think
So
you have
were you hoping they get it to half court, call timeout immediately, basically?
if it didn't look like we could get a shot, yes. But like if you 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 do whatever play that you draw up, and if it doesn't go to absolute perfection, then you have the timeout in your pocket and you could set up a good half court play to get a better shot. I don't get what I don't that did nothing. You basically threw away a timeout in my opinion.
Yeah, and I that does remind me. Can't believe we got a 5 second call on us on an inbound play.
Twice, I think, right?
I just remember the one where the
Oh,
announcers were bragging about how such great
oh, I
scouting
think I think
on
the
the
other one
walkthrough.
felt like a 5 second call, but we actually just threw it like all the way in the
Yeah,
back, and it was a
yeah, and it went
turnover.
out of. Yep, that I remember that now. But yeah, that wasn't a five. We had one true 5 second, um, and
And they were
just
saying the announcers were saying like they totally scouted our inbounds plays and stuff. I don't really care about that. If that's even I don't even
well,
care if that's true. Like
I,
you still need to. I feel like Dan Broad. I didn't like a lot of coaching decision in this game, and that was one of them. The timeout. Basically,
well,
I feel like he threw it away.
well, Alec, let me inform you. As a practice player for a women's basketball team, we also did the walkthrough of the inbound plays. It's the last thing that we did because they don't take up much time, and you're basically
Yeah,
just trying to do something to keep them somewhat focused on the game, but also relax them. So yeah,
right.
that is the last thing that you typically do before a game is walk through the opponent's inbound plays.
Yeah,
I don't think
so
Mooney is the only coach that does that. I don't think that has much correlation to the 5 second call. I think it was just poor execution on our part because every play on an inbounds play should have an option to just throw it to a tall guy to
yeah,
inbound
right.
it. We just
So
didn't work fast enough.
yeah, I don't know. That 7.5 seconds is a long time to get to half court. Obviously, you're going to get full pressed, and it's not going to be easy. but we have plenty of ball handlers that could have handled that. We have two of the best guys in the A10 who don't turn the ball over. So I'm
I
not
was
really even worried about that.
I
I
was
totally
surprised.
disagreed with the timeout.
I was surprised at how quickly the 7.5 seconds came off. I thought we'd have like that. Like there was a second shot that wasn't actually good. That we got that wouldn't have gotten off when
Rozier.
they reviewed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really thought that 7.5 seconds would have been enough time for that shot plus a second. So I don't know if the pressure was just that good that it threw things off, but that was a really quick. Uh, for drives down the floor, I've seen them happen in under 3 seconds. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm surprised that we couldn't get a second shot off.
So you're not so are you not as mad about the timeout being used? Because that was like
I, I feel like it was just. I feel it was more mind games than anything of trying to get them to like
what kind of
possibly.
mind games are you playing?
I
Like
don't know,
you
man.
could use that for
I
a
I
serious half court play to get
I
a good
don't think
shot.
I don't think Dan brought. I think Dan Broad has a lot of trust in his guys and the preparation they do beforehand. I don't think he
I have a
needs.
lot of trust too, but why are you using a timeout for basically no reason? They had just used a timeout. You discuss whatever play you're going to run, and then if that doesn't go according to plan, you have that in your back pocket. There's no excuse. So
Uh,
that fired me up just as much as all the foul calls
I was. I
for
mean,
you.
I was lost at that point. I was too
Yeah,
lost in the sauce.
I was lost too
Without
live.
actually the sauce. You were actually lost in the sauce that night.
I was lost in the sauce later that night, not while watching the game. That was live. I've rewatched it since, not on the sauce. So you can trust my opinions, people. But or you don't have to if you just listen and you don't trust my opinions this entire
Yeah,
time. That's
that's fine.
entirely up to you. Um, but so yeah, that was one of the things that really bothered me about this game. Then I'm just gonna say that I kind of called it in my preview. Well, I didn't call it. I was trying to be optimistic, but defensive rebounding totally destroyed us in this game again.
Yep.
I said in the preview of this game that Richmond is a horrible offensive rebounding team. They're last in the A10 in offensive rebounds a game. They give up. I think they got going into this game. They were less than 7, and they got 14 offensive rebounds on us. And so you asked me last week, are we improving? And I'm like,
No.
I don't really know. It just seems like all of our games, like both teams are getting a lot of offensive rebounds. We're elite at it, and then we suck at defensive rebounding. I thought that wouldn't be an issue, and it was still an issue. I mean, that's a real problem.
And I think
All
it's
of
a
these
lack
things
of
could have
it's
lost us this game. Like the fouls lost us this game, offensive rebounding lost us this game, the free throw line lost us this game, the
post
timeout potentially could have lost us this game. There's like,
post
but
defense.
and yeah,
Well, and if you aren't defending, if you aren't defending the shots well, like post defense or the threes, I've said it every podcast. If you aren't defending, then you should be rebounding. And if you
yeah,
aren't doing both, it's poor hustle. And there was multiple offensive rebounds that Richmond got where we were literally standing around. Burton was one. There's like 3 or 4 Dukes just watching the
he's
ball.
a good offensive rebounding guard. He
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Well, he's also a tall guard. Like
No, he's tall. Yeah, I mean, but
he's
he uses it.
yeah. Um,
Um,
and then the other one, I think it was Bigelow where he batted the ball away,
yeah,
and it was toward the end of the game. It
yeah.
was just like pure effort. That's all that was. Um,
And so that leads me to like that comes down to coaching, I think. I mean, at this point, it's such a reoccurring theme that I'm not going to keep blaming the players on this. Like coaching, if you're a good offensive rebounding team, poor defensive rebounding team, like you said, it comes down to effort and hustle and just being in the right position. And we're giving up good shots, but we're
and
not boxing out.
being a focal point. Like you just need
So
to
I don't
drill
know.
that into practice. There are drills that you can do
Yeah,
to say, I don't
these
care
guys
about
should be chewed
anything
out for
else.
this. And if Dan Broad's not doing that, then like that's poor coaching. So
Yeah,
that's another coaching thing that I've written down that it's too bad of a trend that potentially lost us this game.
yeah. All right.
What else do I have? Yeah, and I already talked about I disagreed how I think you got to send double team help on Neil Quinn. You got to give him a different look. It was also too easy to just get him the ball in the post, like just something as simple as that. So Quinn he changed the momentum in the second half of this game by himself, just with how aggressive he was, and the
Not gonna,
refs didn't help. The
I was gonna
refs didn't
say not
help.
by himself, Alec, not by himself.
The refs didn't help, but he was. I mean, he put them in a position to make those calls,
I
and
get that, but he also was continually getting that spot because the refs were calling everything. So there's the coach and the players would be stupid not to do what they did. Like they utilized what how the game was being played.
but
And
you
that's
have to do something different though. Like you have to admit if something's not working, you have to try something else. And
well
double
the
teams
only
like
the only thing they should have tried was just letting him go and not get it being anywhere near him for a foul call,
oh my
apparently.
god.
That's the only thing they could have done, Alec. There were times where
You would not be a good basketball coach if you're telling your players
I'm
to
not
do
telling
that.
my players that if I'm a coach. I'm telling you as a fan watching, I really think there was very little that could be done because the refs were going to bail him out if there was any contact.
I disagree with that. I think there's if you send double teams and make it difficult for the entry pass to get in there,
I think
then
they doubled him with a few minutes left and he passed away.
that's a
Like I
few
think
minutes left though.
I
But like
understand,
that
but
the damage was done.
I'm saying I think I remember that they did do that like once. And he just passed out of it and
And
that was
Dambrot's
that.
solution was just to he subbed out people that were getting beat. Reese got beat. He was just getting out muscled. Took him out. Put Rotroff in. He got beat. Take him out. Put Dixon in there. Dixon like did a little bit, but he still got beat 1-on-1, even though he had a good
Bar,
game overall.
take him out, put Barre in.
That's what I mean. So he like
Take
everyone
him
didn't
out.
work.
Want to throw Trey Williams in. Can't do that.
Right. I don't know. I think you could have at least given him a different look. That's my opinion. But yeah, that's this was this was gut punching. This was a game we should have won. Super winnable, even with all these horrendous ref calls. I mean, we lost by a bucket. So that just tells you how all these other mistakes. Maybe we win this game in spite of the refs.
If we win this game, I think we're clearly in power rankings, maybe not official standings. I think we're clearly the second best team in the A10 right now. If we win this game,
Yeah,
3-1
and
with our only loss to the clear number one team of Dayton
right.
at Dayton.
So, and I saw something interesting that I haven't noticed on Ken Palm when I was just browsing it. He has he basically ranks the opponents on your schedule and gives them a letter grade. And so we have 5 letter grade teams on our schedule. One is
Kentucky,
Kentucky,
A,
A. Dayton, A. Richmond was a B on per Ken Palm's
and we should
letter
have
grading, and we should have beaten them. And then
at
Massachusetts
their
is
place. Just
yes. UMass also away is going to be another. Ken Palm has them B, and then St. Louis is
yeah,
A. So out of what 30 games that you play, we should have won a letter grade. Like this would have been our first letter grade win. Take that what you will. Like Ken Palm's just there as a reference, but
yeah,
that does mean something. Out of 30 games, and there's only 5, and this is a game that we should have won.
yeah. VCU had an impressive win after we beat them. I think they beat Davidson pretty handily, so they might bump up into a B later on down the road as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Touching on the women's basketball, I mentioned this to you already. They won their first game against Dayton. The trend looked good that they were going to go 2-0. They did end up losing to George Mason. Really, both games we didn't shoot the ball well. We shot like 30 some percent from the field, under 20 or 20% from three. Um, teams are teams are really scouting and shutting down, focusing on Tess and Meg McConnell. Um, I Zach and I were DMing um, Niall Bernard, who's the other guard in the starting lineup, she needs to like just go off every game with how much focus they're giving on the two other guards. She did in the second game against George Mason, but our bigs just didn't get anything going in that game. Maya Hamilton, who led us in points against Dayton, went 0 for 8 from the field. And George Mason, Yanni was coming back from an injury, so she had limited minutes, and Precious Johnson also shot the ball poorly. Um, yeah, it was just we had a hot start. I think it was 10-2 to start the game, and then we went cold for basically the rest of the game. I think we ended with 40 points, not not what you're looking for. So the streak is officially over as to game per game comparison's sake, but they just need to win their next game and they'll be right on track with the same record as the guys.
Yeah. And I said on the last episode, I thought I'd wet my beak in this game. I did wet my beak. I got a live money line of plus 114 when we were only up. It was like 13-12. Felt really good in the first half.
Felt fantastic. Should have cashed out.
This was easy money. And then I got screwed. So if anyone else took took a flyer on that, I also went down with you. So just I feel your pain.
My wetting the beak was the parlay of everything the Steelers needed to go right. Plus, I had I had the Chiefs winning to just up the odds a little bit, and it looked fantastic. Alec really did.
I'm sure it
Yeah,
did.
Joe Flacco couldn't pull it off one more time. Um,
One time you put trust in that guy. Never
I
again.
I wouldn't say that I'd necessarily put trust in him, but I was just hoping that he could score, more than 6 points. That's all they really needed.
I mean, that's the Jets season. That just sums up the Jets season.
Yeah. Um, yeah. One note I did want to mention, after the Dayton game, Bert seemed to be throwing the gauntlet down in the post-game press conference to the girls on the bench because there is no depth at this point. They have 6 players getting minutes consistently, and then
Wow.
arguably a seventh with the backup point guard. Um, so he's basically saying somebody on the bench needs to step up and
Yeah.
improve themselves so that they can get minutes because we have minutes that we can spare at this point. Um, so yeah, that's what the women's team is doing. The depth is just not there. The guys do not have that problem. They just have players that are specialized in one area or another, and we just need to merge them together to form a super player. That'd be great.
Yeah, we need to cut someone in half, give someone else's arm, someone else's head, make up
Make a
a player.
Frankenstein player. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronsky, I think, also should get more minutes. I don't know if McGriff. I think McGriff will play more in other games, but Ronsky, I think,
Bronski was good in this game. He was a bright spot. He took advantage of the minutes he was given.
I don't think there's ever been a game this season where I've thought that he was a liability with his minutes.
No, I wouldn't say he's either neutral or a plus. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say he doesn't feel like a minus on the court.
yeah. So I wouldn't mind seeing his minutes trickle up somehow. I understand that it's difficult whenever Trey Williams comes back because then the minutes are just spread out even more. Um,
Yeah.
Barre's minutes might need to go down. Dixon's go up. Um, yeah, I mean, Danbrow's got a lot of difficulties when it comes to actually fielding a true rotation between the bigs. It really does seem like it just has to depend on how they're playing that day, honestly.
Yeah. And I'll give him a slight pass on this game because obviously we were missing Trey Williams. But yeah, I think he needs to get a better idea of who he likes the most, who he trusts the most in the minutes because the splitting up, everyone getting a little bit of minutes. Just it was fun at first because you're trying to figure out things, but now we're in the A10 conference schedule now. Like things really matter, so
Figure
we
it
need
out.
to solidify the rotation.
Yeah, I think RJ Gunn has solidified his role at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if Trey does come off the bench like we've been kind of recommending.
Yeah,
Um,
that was I think we were both excited with this starting lineup. We obviously don't want Williams to be injured, but it did give RJ Gunn the freedom to be that stretch four that we've wanted. And in the first half, that proved to be totally true.
there was a few minutes where the lineup was Rozier, Day, Bronski, Dixon, and I don't remember who the big was. It wasn't Reese because it was later on in the game. And Dixon made that incredible and one play during this. But just looking at the guys on the floor, it was like, well, Day's being passive. Rozier can like drive, but there's not a guy that you necessarily want to pass to in this. Um, and I think it was Dixon and Barre because I was like, you can't even really find a
Yeah,
big
which
to rely
they
on.
haven't really played together. I think that's the first time they've even been on the court at the same time.
And it was just like this is why you need to balance the minutes with Brewer and Rozier so that you at least have Brewer out there with Day if Trey Clark is out. Um,
Yeah.
because I mean, yeah, that made a huge impact on how our offense ran. So I I understand Brewer's going to start, but I feel like they really need to balance the minutes where Brewer might be one of the first subs off, and then you work Trey and Day's subs off of that. Um, just just
And
to make
Brewer
sure.
played well in this game offensively too. He
Yeah,
had 10 points, 8 assists, no turnovers.
yeah, and like I mentioned, on a few of his drives and just when he had the ball, he was getting hand checked a lot, and there was no real foul calls on anybody guarding him. Um, and he had that great floater. Yeah,
And I'm looking at Joe Reese's stat line. He had 11 points in 16 minutes. It's absurd. This guy, like he can just score points. It doesn't matter how little minutes he plays. So
it's this might be the biggest shame that like he was clearly going to be playing 25 minutes, which is like the most he's played in the past few games. Like this was a game where he was going to play a decent,
right with
respectable
Williams
amount of
out.
minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so he could have dropped 20 easily in this game if he didn't get two fouls called on him. They shouldn't have been called on him. Um, no, I'm not letting it rest, Alec. It's not.
Also, I didn't know this as a college rule. The Burton when he got injured and he couldn't take his free throw shots in the NBA, you can't come back in after that. If you get injured on a foul and you have to go to the free throw line, if you don't take your free throws and you come out, then you can't come back in.
During the entirety of the game.
Yep.
No,
That's why
I don't think that's
I'm pretty sure that's true in the NBA.
I don't think that is. We'll have to look into that.
Either way, that was the only time that he was off the court. He played 37 minutes in this game. So
Yeah.
that injury was his only that the dude's a tank. He's a good ball player.
Yeah. And I understand I have hate towards both of the best players in our conference, apparently, with Holmes and him, but I'll say this. I respect Burton's game. Like he is legitimately just a complete player. Um,
Yep.
earns his baskets, some could say, much more than the other guy, who is just near the basket and just, oh, look at that. Like the ball's right to me. Great. I'll just put it right up.
You sound like the people who don't like Giannis's game. He's like, oh, he's just big. He doesn't have doesn't have any dribble moves. He doesn't have a jump shot.
I mean, Holmes literally
I'm not comparing Holmes to Giannis. Now I'm
Holmes
realizing
literally
how that
has none of
sounds.
that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's about it from what I have in this game.
yeah, we'll add some St. Joe's recap. Hope probably going to be a quicker one because it's gonna be interesting as well probably. And then yeah,
Hope
we'll
they
see you.
stomp at their throats. That's all I can hope for. If they lose this game, that there's some serious issues.
Yeah, I think my live reaction to you was that I feel bad for St. Joe's.
I hope you're right, and we'll
I mean,
find out. We'll find out in this podcast. That's for sure.
that there was quite a few live reaction texts that I had. I think I'll leave you folks with this one. I think you know which one I'm going to reference. Do you want to read it out? I think it might even be better
I
if you
actually
read it out.
okay. I don't. I actually, off the top of my head, I don't. But I'll go back.
All right. It's Are you kidding me? That's a tough call. These announcers, these fans, and these refs.
Okay, yeah, yep. I remember that. I'm seeing it now.
Yeah,
That's a lot of bucket splashes.
yeah, yeah. Those going to be hearing a lot of rebounding here, folks. All right. We'll see you shortly while we talk St. Joe's basketball. All right. Thanks, Nick and Alec, for bringing us to the St. Joe's game post game recap. Uh, Alec, you got to see it firsthand. Why don't you lead off?
Yep, I literally have been home for like less than 5 minutes. Um, it was good to see this team in person. Uh, RJ Gunn felt like he didn't miss all night being there live. Looking at the box score, he was 8 of 10 from the field, 5 of 7 from three, 26 points. Yeah, the St. Joe's fans were not happy. They're like, this guy can't miss.
He could
Um,
not. And that leads me to my hot take. RJ Gunn is the best Duquesne dude. Who knew?
we're not week to week. Our opinions don't change week to week or anything. It's not like we
We
think
went
whoever
day
had the
day.
best game in the last game is the best player.
We went Day Day, Joe Reese, Trey Clark, and now RJ Gunn, who was definitely the Duquesne Duke of the week, no question. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, it is unreal what his presence does to our offense. Um, just teams can't attack our 3-point shooters. You can't. There's always somebody open by moving the ball around now.
I texted you during the game. At one point, we were shooting 60% from the field and 60% from three in the second half.
Yeah, first half I think we shot around 80% from three, maybe higher.
Yeah,
Like we were legitimately when I looked once we were 8 of 9. And then I think in the second half we went a little cold obviously and we had some sloppy turnovers. And we still held a solid lead for basically the entirety of the game. Game was
yeah,
over by the time they chipped away at it.
yeah.
Um,
I never really got that feeling in past games where this was like we were blowing it. I never got that feeling, even though like St. Joe's kind of hung in there a little bit, but I didn't get that sick feeling that I've gotten with VCU and Richmond and
I mean, I did at halftime, and I texted you saying this first half was way too similar, and
yeah,
I mean, we texted about two other instances that happened where we literally got a foul called for boxing out again,
a lot.
and
It
and
happened a
yeah,
lot.
that happened multiple times, and including at the end of the game when everybody was just trying to go home, they were still calling boxing out fouls.
Yep.
And the ball shot, we had another big get hit in the balls. It's just
Emily thought it was his abdomen, but
well, I mean,
yeah, it's the same thing. From TV at least, it's the same thing.
yeah, and because you brought up TV, St. Joe's broadcasting crew is by far the best in the Atlantic 10. They were so well prepared for everything. They were naming out our sports information director, our radio play-by-play man,
Oh wow.
Pittsburgh play-by-play guys like that aren't even part of Duquesne's program. They are all stars. Really enjoyed them. Wish they could do more than just St. Joe's games.
That's good. Good for you. After that miserable Richmond broadcasting experience, that I agree with you about the Richmond, but I wasn't as passionate, I guess.
No, it's complete day and night. And then at the end of our game, I flipped over to Rhode Island, who upset. I think it was St. Bonaventure tonight. Yeah, that they upset, and it was literally two students calling the game. So it's just
Oh wow.
the true spread of Atlantic 10 basketball production is just totally on display here.
How was the camera? Like, did you get cut to any commercials, but it was supposed to be a replay or anything?
Though I will say it was funny that the broadcasters were talking about how the games were dominated by Duquesne, like every commercial break, but they only showed St. Joe's highlights because it's St. Joe's broadcast. So it
That's
was just
fine.
really it was a funny like
You have to accept that. Yeah,
yeah
that's just gonna happen.
yeah no, and I wouldn't expect them to be showing our highlights during their broadcast, but it was just funny how they were literally only talking about how well we were doing and then only showing St. Joe's
I
highlights.
had this thought. Duquesne's going back tonight, I guess.
Yeah,
Back.
they drove out after practice yesterday on a bus, and then I guess they're taking the bus ride back tonight.
Damn, that sucks.
Uh,
Because I've done that. I've done that drive. Uh, I don't have enough hands for how many times I've done that drive back and forth. So that sucks.
they'll be able to sleep and watch movies, and they don't have to actually focus on driving. So that's an added bonus.
That's true. I guess they're not driving, but still, it's
Yeah,
not great. Um, yeah, I had to take notes on my phone this time. Normally, I take notes on my laptop, so I don't have a lot. Um, Tevin Brewer, some of the passes that he was making tonight were for his size, like they're on a rope and he's passing to the opposite corner, like in a
yeah,
pick and roll to the right hand side, and then he'll whip it to the corner to RJ Gunn, like on the left. It's really it was really impressive to see in person. So that was something that stuck out. And then we talked about it a little bit during the game. Bari played, what did he play? 3 minutes.
yeah.
That's it. Um, so
Dixon
look,
0.
yeah, and so looks like Dan Brot really shortened his rotation in the front court, which is fine. Like Rotroff played well, dominated on the boards again, so I don't mind it.
Yeah, and Joe Reese probably played the most minutes he's played all year tonight. Um,
No,
no,
I was shocked too. I have it up right
jeez,
now.
he felt like he was always on the floor.
21 minutes,
Oh my God. So Rochoff got a lot of minutes then.
16 minutes.
Where did the other minutes go?
Um, I don't know.
They I don't remember them playing small. I guess Ronsky might have played the four a decent bit.
Yeah,
Um,
Horonsky played 9 minutes in this game. This is all per
still
ESPN,
that's
so
still not enough. Like there's some error there because we have gone through and RJ Gunn doesn't play center. So like that's 20 plus not like Ronsky didn't play center. Uh yeah, no, there's not enough
no,
minutes there.
no, it adds up. Bari 3, Rotroff 16, that's 19, Joe 21, 40 minutes. So yeah.
All right, right, whatever. Reese still looked dominant in his time on the court. He did have a few
He's really
moments.
struggling defensively. I'll say that. He kind of just puts his hands up and he never jumps. And these guys are really scared of getting fouls called on them, but if you jump straight up, that's okay. Like
Yeah,
you don't have to stay on the floor and put your hands up.
the broadcasters made a joke about that neither team was going chest to chest on defense at all during
Yeah,
this game.
no, this was. Oh, I bet on this game in 3 different ways. Went 2 of 3.
Well, that's good. As long
Um,
as it wasn't a parlay.
no.
All
Just
right.
three straights on the game. Duquesne -2.5, easy. Duquesne over points. I think it was the line was
Still
74 and a
easy.
half,
All
which
right.
was kind of weird because I think Duquesne's points per game is 75,
And St. Joe's isn't
like
known to be a
average.
great defensive
And
team.
St. Joe's is this is a weak St. Joe's team, so that seemed like easy money that hit. And then I had St. Joe's under, but that
Our
didn't hit.
defense did not show up.
No, we got.
I
I'm
I
so
will
annoyed that I have to say it again. I
I
have to say it
will
again.
hold on. I will give them credit. They were trying to do more on the defensive rebounding, and suddenly it's a foul to box out. I don't understand.
That
I
happened a lot. Tevin
it,
Brewer got caught. I think RJ Gunn got caught,
yeah,
and there was one other time. And then I heard this is an exclusive for everybody. Dambrot was like, I've never seen so many of these calls in my life because the reps kept telling him that they're pushing outwards, like they're pushing outwards too much for boxing out. I'm like, isn't
that's
that what
literally
boxing
what
out is?
I every time they called a foul, I thought they were calling an offensive over the back foul.
Right.
Every single time.
The
in
Tevin
every
Brewer one, I thought so too, and then after that, I kind of just waited until whatever the refs did.
yeah. And there was one, RJ Gunn did not get called on a foul on the box out where the guy still reached over his back and got the ball. But then RJ Gunn like turned around and in that process hit the guy's arm and got called for a foul. And it was just like I don't know what you want him to do. There's just
Yeah, that was frustrating. Thankfully, it wasn't as close as the Richmond game where
yeah.
that really mattered.
Yeah, Dan Brought provided some insight with his interview with Zach yesterday at practice. Definitely alluded to not obviously not as strongly as I was able to dictate about the reffing, but he did note there is a wide discrepancy in the fouls, and he talked about McGriff not getting not getting any minutes, a way to get Ronsky on the floor. Definitely wanted to see more of him, and this is probably the worst game he's played, which it still
Yeah,
wasn't a bad game on his part by any means.
he was just neutral, like I
Yeah,
said in or earlier in this podcast. He's just either neutral or like really good. He had 3 points, shot 3 times, 1 of 2 from three. So he was fine. McGriff played well.
did. So maybe got some passion in him, not being able to play. Uh, maybe added some focus to his game. The the only the only major turnover issue I had, I texted you about. Brewer passed to like Dambrot and the ref a few
Yeah,
times in this game where he
yeah.
must have just thought he was a Duquesne. They were Duquesne players.
I
Um,
think it seemed like from where I was sitting, so I was center court, but not in the first level. It's like a high school gym.
it is.
So the second level is still like you're basically like really close to the court. So that's where I was. And it seemed like someone was talking on the bench or something, and that's kind of what it seemed like. And Brewer like heard maybe someone said like I'm open. Not that someone on the bench would say I'm
Yeah,
open, but maybe they were trying to direct something from the bench, and he passed it, and he's like, "Shut up." Like that's what it seemed like. I could be totally wrong, but
yeah.
that's
And
what
there
it seemed.
was and there was one or two alley oop attempts that just like that
Yeah,
that
the
seems to
RJ
happen.
Gunn, the Trey Clark to RJ Gunn, the first half that
Yeah,
off of when he got that steal, I like didn't even see where Trey Clark was. That was like so fast. That's why I really enjoyed being at the game, like and see just how quick these guys are. And that steal in particular, I'm like, I didn't even see that Trey Clark was there, let alone he could get the ball in that position.
yeah. It was. I mean, the team is really impressive this year.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I feel good. Richmond did pull out a win tonight. They were down in a close one against Davidson. So I think realistically we're looking at third in the conference as of right now, but we have it's been noted that we have an easier schedule than most teams that are like fighting for those top spots, in part because the Atlantic 10 expected those top teams to be in the top spots and they wanted a better chance at having multiple bids for the NCAA tournament, so they gave them tougher schedules. And we are lucking out because once again they had us last. So yeah, we should be able to be a double bye team in the A10 tournament, which I've never seen um, from Duquesne, which is going to be cool.
Yeah. No, I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah, I mean, positives. Shooting was phenomenal, and while it cooled down a little in the second half, it was still good offense. Um, Obvious negative, we just can't defend at all. Like St. Joe's is not a good team in general this year, and we still couldn't. We stopped their top scorer. We're able to shut down teams' top scoring options. Everybody else has career
Thank you,
nights.
Trey Clark.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, St. Joe's averages 69.5 points per game, 80. I'm gonna say it again. Offensive rebounding for St. Joe or defensive rebounding for the Dukes was an issue. 16 let up offensive rebounds in this game.
yeah,
That's a lot. Like
yeah,
we're the top team in the conference in offensive rebounds, and we average 14.
yeah.
So to let up 16 is a hell of a lot.
And even though there were some where they weren't offensive rebounds, but we still like deflected balls out of bounds on our
Right.
attempted defense. Like that, it's
Yeah.
even worse than the numbers show, which is shocking.
Yeah. And but shooting was fantastic. We shot 56% from the field, 56 from three, 14 of 25 from three. And St. Joe's didn't even shoot poorly. Like that's kind of the issue. Like if we didn't have a elite offensive night, like we could have lost.
Yeah.
St. Joe's shot 45% from the field, 36% from three. That's really good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this was probably one of their best offensive nights of the year for St. Joe's.
yeah,
Um, and Duquesne, like, I mean, we've said it every podcast. You can't, if you're not going to contest shots, you need to get the rebounds. Can't do both. And we just continue to do both and somehow get away with it most nights. Um, but that's eventually going to kill us if we don't pick up the pace. And it does seem like they gave much more focus towards defensive rebounding in this one, at least at times.
yeah, they just might not be good at it for some reason. I mean, not might be, they are not good at it.
Yeah,
That's a fact at this point.
it's just I don't know.
Cool thing that happened, Jimmy Clark had
Yeah.
uh another ESPN highlight, put someone on a poster. I don't know who it was, but yeah, the whole gym was like quiet after that.
Yeah. I will add, not a very subtle highlight. He broke ankles without even dribbling the ball in the second half. He got the ball, pivoted like twice, and the guy covering him spun around and fell down. So
Yeah,
Trey, you're just a highlight machine. We
that's when
mention
you
it
know
every
you have
time.
someone on their heels, is
Yeah.
that you don't even need to dribble the ball and you still break their ankles. And then another thing that I just noticed, so he kind of, when it comes to Day Day, and Day Day had like
He had a good night.
he had a
It
good
wasn't
night.
his
Yeah.
great night. He definitely wasn't bad tonight, so that was good.
No, he was good. His on ball defense is good.
Yep. He
Is
was at
like he was very active tonight. And so
I think
when he's on and he's like very alert, I feel like he's a fine defensive player. He's not going to get the steals like Trey Clark is. He doesn't have that defensive instinct like Trey Clark does, but his on-ball defense was good. And then when we compare that to the Richmond game, his off-ball defense was atrocious.
yeah.
So that's maybe something he can work on. But
A lot more focus. And he, I think, was actually guarding Reynolds most of the night too. So like it
yeah,
wasn't just Trey Clark shutting him down, which was nice. And I mean, he Day Day is good at drawing offensive fouls from whoever it like bizarrely just seems to get under their skin or something.
he's got
Where
great handles. Yeah.
yeah, um, so that's basically it, really. I mean, I don't have too many talking points here. My hot take was that maybe RJ Gunn is the best Duke. Um,
I don't think that's true, but I mean, he shot 8 of 10 from the field. Um, yeah, he was just. I mean, doesn't seem like he's missing right now. I might do a RJ Gunn deep dive for
there's
the next podcast.
It's gonna be tough. It's small sample size, but
Yeah, and we don't have another game until next Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
a
so
one
they
game
have a
recap.
week off.
Shout out to the women's team who dominated St. Bonaventure tonight at home. They, I think they won by like 30 points, so they are now going to win their next one to get back on even with the guys' team, and we'll be good again. Um, yeah. So tonight for the women's team, basically everybody shot the ball well except Precious Johnson had a rough night again. She was I think she was 1 for tonight, and she was 0 for in last game. And then we still only have 6 players really contributing, um, which is definitely not ideal. So
No,
you want like 8. 8 is like a great number. Like on the
seven like minimum. Like
yeah,
6 is definitely not
yeah,
enough.
7 to 9,
Seven's a small rotation, but you can deal with it if you like everyone's in shape and stuff like that. But
and like
6 is really
in the 7,
bare bones.
one's a guard, one's a big. Like okay, 7 can work.
Right.
9, 8 or 9, I think, is the ideal rotation size, which
Yeah.
Ambrot's trying to trim it down to that amount. I
It
just
basically was 9 tonight. Like if we just
Barre doesn't
exclude
really count.
Barry's three
Yeah,
minutes, then it was Horonsky, Rotroff, McGriff, and Rozier.
yeah. I just no. Rozier was okay tonight. He had some mistakes, but he also made some good plays. Um, the and one caused me to say I just love Kareem Rozier because
Yeah,
he's just
when a small dude gets contact and gets an and one contact like finish at the rim is it's like the greatest feeling in the world.
and out of our guards, besides Trey Clark, I don't think there's another guard that's gonna be driving like that. Day
No,
Day, Day Day, we've talked about, and Tevin always stops with the floater, which I mean, hey, it works, so I'm not gonna knock him.
yeah,
Um,
and Tevin, he had no points tonight, but
yeah,
it doesn't like you wouldn't. I didn't watch him and be like, this dude shouldn't be on the floor. Like I didn't feel that at all. I mean, he had 6 assists, uncharacteristically 4 turnovers, like we talked about a little bit. Some of those were just kind of flukes again. So anytime he has over like 2 turnovers, it's just definitely a fluke night.
yeah. And I mean, you talked about how small the gym is, high school gym, basically. It really seemed like the seats were really close to the court, all over the court. Like there wasn't much room, so that probably added to it, where the bench was basically on the court.
Yeah, this is smaller than what the AJ Palumbo
Yeah,
was.
I was gonna say this gym makes AJ Palumbo look like a decent college
No,
facility.
no, seriously, yeah. This is they definitely need not that I want to brag about our new Cooper House field stadium, but I'm comparing it to the Palumbo. Trying to compare it to the Palumbo what it used to be, and the Palumbo is definitely way more updated than what this is. But hey, ball is ball. Ball is life.
It is, and just so you're aware, UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse. That's it. No arena, no stadium. just just a field house.
I'm also noticing just real quick, RJ Gunn got to the line. He took 6 free throw attempts, 5 of 6 from the line.
Yeah,
Didn't feel that way,
there
but
was a
yeah,
lot of
that's a great stat line then.
there was a lot of foul calls in this game. It's the refs were calling
Yeah,
every
they were calling a
contact.
lot. Not as much as Richmond, but
No,
still
not
a lot.
well, and it wasn't one-sided, which was nice. Like at least they kept it consistent, but also, especially in a blowout,
Oh, look
come
at
on.
this. 18 fouls each
Yeah.
for each team.
Oh, you mean not 30 to 8? No?
No, it seems
No.
like that's not the case.
Huh. Interesting.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then Bonaventure is going to be a tough. It won't, they're not an elite team, but they're kind of just solid across the board. Seems like.
At home, they're a much tougher challenge than they are on the road.
Right.
Um, so that should be fun.
Not going to be easy, but obviously Dukes have a chance.
Yeah,
Let's see what Kempom has actually.
for some reason, Bonaventure fans hate Duquesne. Just hate them. And I mean, we've had some tight games with them. We've had some iconic moments. Derek Coulter buzzer beater back when our team really stunk and they were good, and we just crushed their hopes and dreams of becoming an NCAA tournament team with us beating them. Um,
I like Derek Coulter a lot. Um, so yeah, Kempom 49% chance, so 50-50.
all right, that makes sense. I bet at home we'd probably have like a 5% bump. Um,
Yeah,
so
probably
yeah, I feel a lot better about Duquesne
a win.
after a win, but also like looking back on it, we should have one loss in the conference, and it's against Dayton at Dayton.
There was there was 2 guys behind me. The one guy had St. Joe's season tickets, and he brought his friend who went to Duquesne, and they were talking about like what's Duquesne's A10 conference record. And then he wasn't sure, and I just turned around like we're 2-2, but it definitely should be 3-1.
100%.
Yeah,
Um, Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this week, folks. We gave you a long recap of the Richmond game. I'm sure that's going to take up a lot of time. We'll see you next week where we have much less games to focus on, and we'll go in depth on that one.
Go Dukes.
The Dukes are back and now it's time to rise up. Rise up.